Hello, everyone. Welcome to my networking passion project. I'd like to start by saying that this project was probably one of the most fun things to do throughout this entire school year, and I'd like to thank Mr. Paprocki for allowing me to do a project that I really genuinely enjoyed. As a few of you know, I own a virtual reality system for my PC. I have a Valve Index, Valve Knuckles, and regular Vive base stations. A pretty good setup compared to some, but there is always room for improvement. In my room, I have what I like to think is a pretty good looking setup. I have 3 monitors, a good mechanical keyboard, a good mouse and mousepad combo, and my actual PC doesn't look too bad either. All of this I have acquired over the course of a few years, and have spent a countless amount of time setting it up to make it look as good as possible. The goal I was trying to achieve with this project was to improve my virtual reality setup. The setup had been functional, but wasn't the most good looking compared to the rest of my room. At the end of this project, I would like to have my virtual reality setup look as good as the rest of my computer parts. To start, I took a look at my setup and thought about what was wrong with it. There wasn't much, because most of the problems I'd either gotten used to or have put off fixing until I felt like it, but it could definitely have used a touch-up. For starters, every time I stopped playing virtual reality, I would have to unplug one of my base stations in order to be able to use my TV. The reason I would have to do this is because the base stations use the same infrared light that my TV remote uses, and the lights would conflict with each other, causing my TV to not read any input from the remote. Unplugging it was no hassle, but something I would have liked to stop doing. The fix for this was quite simple. All I had to do was go into the base station settings through SteamVR's menu and enable power management. This allowed the base stations to automatically turn off every time I stopped SteamVR. With one flaw fixed, I moved on to my next task. The next task was a little more time-consuming, but wasn't necessarily hard. When I originally put up my base stations, I let the cords dangle around, always saying that I would fix it later. Around 6 months later, I still hadn't fixed the cords to the wall. To finally fix this, I decided to grab some wire fasteners and hammer them into the wall along the ceiling and corners of my room. After doing so, I was actually really surprised at how much better the cords looked compared to before. My setup had finally begun to look like something done correctly. The third and final flaw to my virtual reality setup was the cord that the Valve Index used to plug into the computer. Anybody who has used a PC virtual reality headset has had to deal with this cord unless they paid $300 and got a wireless adapter for the Vive. The problem with it is that it is constantly at your feet while you play whatever games you play. This can lead to some tangling, and while thankfully it hasn't ever happened to me, you could even fall over while playing VR if you aren't careful, and break your very expensive headset. Because I am careful, however, the cord became nothing but a nuisance rather than a danger. I eventually had gotten used to where the cord was at all times, and if it ever impeded my legs, I could easily throw it behind me with a swift kick backwards. However, I was tired of this hassle and sought a way to keep the cord away from my feet to give myself a wireless feeling while playing virtual reality. The way I found was a system called VR Pulleys. As you can imagine, this is a series of hooks that you put up on your ceiling to have the cord hang above you rather than at your feet. I quickly did some research and found what products suited my style the best and ordered them. At roughly $30, these were a steal compared to the $300 price tag on other wireless devices for VR headsets. A week flew by and the VR pulleys finally arrived at my house. I opened them up, read the manual, and began to install my new system. I was worried that I would have to drill holes in my ceiling to put these up, but was pleasantly surprised when the hooks the pulleys hang on stick to the ceiling rather than drill into it. All you have to do is stick it to where you want to go and hold it there for roughly 5 seconds. After this, you simply hang up one of the pulleys and thread your headset's wire through the new wire holder. After doing this a few times, my Valve Index was now hanging from my ceiling and it was ready to be brought down whenever I felt like it. As a side note, I ended up needing to drill 2 holes in my ceiling to hang up hooks that I could hang my headset on the ceiling rather than placing it down on the counter, which was something that I was unable to do now that the headset was hanging. To my surprise, the VR pulley system was better than I ever could have expected. My biggest fear was that the pulleys would have a strong pull on the cord, causing your headset to feel like it was trying to fly off your head due to the tension, but this was not the case at all. The pulleys do pull on your headset, but you do not feel a thing when you put it on and look around. The only time you do feel anything is if you crouch down, causing tensions to be higher. Even so, the pull you feel is minuscule and is easy to ignore. The main difference is finally feeling nothing dangling at your feet. Being able to turn around multiple times without stepping over a cord is an amazing feeling and increases your experience and immersion by a very, very large amount. In conclusion, I would say that my goal of improving my VR setup was a huge success. With the cords for my base stations now in order and my headset feeling pretty much wireless, everything I did improved my setup by much more than what I thought they would have when I started. Thanks for watching.